explore the pack mentality.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
And I wanted to explore like the family aspect of the pack. Um, but that was always what I wanted to do in a werewolf movie. When I got Dog Soldiers, I had read over 300 scripts. We had just started this company. I was brought on as the development executive because I was a literary agent for 2 agencies, so I came from that background sort of. So I knew how to find good material. But anyway, so we started this company, and we just were getting submissions. I used to joke that if there was a nuclear explosion, I would never feel it because the walls were lined with so many scripts. But anyway, so I read Dog Soldiers, and from what I understand, it was around for about 8 years, and I could see why, because a lot of it was about women and soccer. And this is the original draft that I read, and it went on for like forever about the footy and the stuff like that. And but when you're a script development person, like I was for the studios and stuff, they teach you to read the first 10 pages, the middle 10, and the last 20, because you have so many scripts to read in the day. And I couldn't do that because as a writer myself, I was like, I can't just do that. And I would end up reading every script. So I had no social life at all. And it's a good thing because I think the reason Dog Soldiers got passed by so many other companies was that it's a slow starter. It didn't pick up. So I read the whole thing and I saw it, but the problem with it was that it relied. Now this isn't a negative, but it relied on. It really is Night of the Living Dead. Let's just be honest. Think about it. In Night of the Living Dead, a group of people are attacked by zombies and take refuge in a house. They board up the house. The zombies attack the house. They try to get away in a Jeep, which explodes.
Yep.
They try to get away throwing Molotov cocktails and stuff like that. And in the end, the hero goes into the cellar. And in Night of the Living Dead, he dies, but in Dog Soldiers, he survives. Now, that's not a negative thing, because a lot of people go, well, then it's just a copy of Night of the Living Dead. No, all good movies have a thread in them, which is like a fairy tale. For example, let's see, Lost Boys. What famous story is Lost Boys? It's Peter Pan. The head vampire is looking for a mother for his boy. Okay, so psychologically, you sort of go, it's sort of in your head, and it's subconsciously familiar to you, and that's good. Like, for example, Mortal Kombat, the original Mortal Kombat. Do you know what movie that really is? It's Wizard of Oz. 3 friends go through a vortex to another land to kill the witch.
It's kind of like Star Wars in the way in which it it shows the hero's journey and blah blah blah. It's a formula.
Right.
It's set formula. Yeah.
But that's what I would tell writers when I was teaching seminars and stuff like that, is that if you find a basis, if you could put a thread of a famous story through your story, it helps. It really does, because subconsciously people are familiar with it and they relate to it. So that was it. So anyway, so Dog Soldiers. So I got that. So I brought it up before the investors. I said, look, I really like this script. I think there's something here. Can we do something? They are like, no. Werewolves? No. There's never been a good werewolf movie. Ever. And I'm like, well, American Werewolf in London. Well, yeah, but that's a comedy. That's not really a scary movie.
There's some scary shit in that movie.
You and I know that, but I'm talking about people who don't.
Yeah, exactly.
So and Howling was, Joe Dante. It was low, but so they were like, we don't want to. Our first movie shouldn't be a werewolf movie. But I'll be honest with you, I really put my job on the line. I said, look, there's enough here that I think there's something special. It needs work.
Yeah.
And it's like I said, it's too similar to some other movies. Like for example, Sergeant Ryan's character was much more like the what do you call it? The superior in Starship Troopers. Kind of whiny, kind of So there needed to be some development there, and so that's why story development people like myself are the most hated in Hollywood, because we're basically calling your baby ugly, and here's how we feel.
You want to dissect it and take it apart. Yeah.
We can fix it, right? So
that's awesome.
So that's what I ended up doing, was like I became that guy, and but we got it made, but it was tough. It was a tough shoot. It really was.
You were in England, correct? You were in
well,
Kingdom.
we filmed in Luxembourg.
Okay.
Only because the tax break was better.
Yeah.
But we got to film on the Earl of Luxembourg's land, so that was kind of cool. But yeah, and it was cold.
It looks like it's cold in the movie. Like it just looks cold. The way the aesthetic of the movie is.
Yeah. Well, it was
miserable. It was cold in the rain. So
cold, but it helped the thing. Anyway, and originally Jason, one of the reasons we got the movie going was, I think, because Jason Statham was supposed to play the Cooper role. Mm-hmm. But he had to bow out because of the transporter. So we ended up getting Kevin McKidd, which was a blessing. The guy just made that role. So, yeah.
All right. Yeah. Good question, man.
I was going to ask, how was it working with Sean Pertwee?
I have nothing to say about all the actors. In fact, I'm glad we made it in England or in Europe, and it's one of the reasons why I'm going back to do some other films, hopefully later this year. It's because English actors are actors.
They invented acting, so
yeah, they did. But it's like everything that comes out of their mouth is wonderful, because they really go into, like, we have movie stars here, but they have actors there, and they're actors. And so Sean, they all brought their A game, and it was a pleasure. There was not one person on there that was horrible to work with. You hear those dogs? Okay. Everyone wants in on this. Yeah, so I get, Sean was great. I know they all came to America after that. In fact, with The Walking Dead, are there any American actors working anymore?
I don't know. I ask people that all the time. John Bernthal, it's the only one I can think of.
Because I never saw him interviewed, so I was just figured he had an English accent. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure he's American. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
But the governor, Rick, everybody. Yeah.
Everybody was English.
Yeah, everybody, Maggie, like everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, but I don't blame them, because they're great actors. They're trained.
They sell it, man. They sell it. They naturally emote, and just they can act. Like I said, they invented acting. So
right, they bring it. Believe me,
make it effortless, man. So yeah.
That's why I'm going back. Because no offense, but I want to do Made in America. But at this point, it's too expensive to make movies here. So we're independent. So. Better deals there.
Yeah. The scrap pieces of like meat and organs in the beginning of the film, that was like what was used for that?
Yep, it's all styrofoam and plastics and all that good stuff. Nothing real. Not like in Day of the Dead, where they actually use real guts and then let them sit over the weekend.
Yeah, unplug the refrigerator.
Yeah, it's like, I got a chance to work with George Romero, and that was like the first question I asked him. I go, "Is that true? Was that really, you had to use the guts even though they were spoiled?" And he was like, "Yeah."
That's awesome. I think everybody nerds out their first question. They're just like, "Bah!" They just, it's kind of funny.
Yeah, no, I had to know. It's just one of those things. Like, is that true?
Yeah,
Um,
it really
anyway,
happened. Yeah, that's awesome. I have a question again, but I mean, if you want to keep going, go ahead. Because my
no.
question's
I like
mine's
questions
nerdy.
because I'll babble forever.
They made an action figure based off of one of the wolves in the movie, one of the characters in the movie.
Yeah, that was the second time I put my job on the line
Oh man, I got to hear this. I got to hear this.
because
I
when the
collect
movie was,
horror toys. That's why I wanted to ask you. So
oh yeah, well Jerry over at Soda,
yeah,
um,
soda
he
toys.
uh, he came up to me. I think it was at a convention. No. You know what it was I think is we Roy Kinnearum directed Cemetery Gates for me, and he was Soda Effects. When I do a movie, I like to give people who wouldn't get an opportunity to have an opportunity. For example, like Roy was, he was special effects, but he really wanted to direct. And I was like, well, here's an opportunity. Michael Shelton, who did Basement Jack for me, he's one of the top visual effects artists. In fact, he just did Mary Poppins Returns.
Oh
He did all the visual effects. That was his team. Exorcism of Emily Rose. And Passion of the Christ. Every time Jesus got whipped, that was Michael.
wow.
So,
Okay. Yeah.
so,
Yeah. All right.
but
All
he
right.
wanted to direct, and no one was giving him an opportunity because they lock you in Hollywood. You're this, you're this, you're this. Like I
Yeah.
got crap. Can I swear in here? Um,
Yeah. Good.
when when I got Atlas Shrugged, um, people write, oh, it's a hack horror writer. Why is a hack horror writer doing this magnificent book? And it's sort of like, no, I'm a writer. I love horror. Don't get me wrong. And I think horror is the only true cinema experience anymore. Everything's just digital explosion, but horror is you react, and it's
True
still
horror.
fun.
Yeah. Yeah. Visceral.
Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, and so yeah. So anyway, so I like to give those people. Anyway, so Roy worked with Jerry, and Jerry handled the toy part of the company. They did a wonderful bust of the Planet of the Apes characters. I still have
Yeah.
mine.
Yeah.
And they did a bunch of things that I was just like
I have the
amazed.
Dark
Anyway,
Man, and it's
oh yeah,
sculpted like a statue. Like it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. So
yeah, they did a wonderful job. So I was like, we should do an action figure of Dog Soldiers. Um, but see, no one had any faith in Dog Soldiers because let me tell you what happened. So it was the number one film in the UK, okay, until Attack of the Clones came. Once Attack of the Clones came, it got knocked out of
yeah.
the top, but it was the number one film in the UK. So we were going to bring it to America. So we had a screening for Dog Soldiers on September 12th, 2001. What happened on September 11th, 2001? So nobody wanted soldiers, nobody wanted werewolves, nobody wanted anything at that point. So we ended up having to sell it basically to Sci-Fi for one of their original movies.
Mm.
And we got nothing for it. And they had it for 15 years. We signed a contract for 15 years exclusively. They had it. I mean, it was recently up, but that's why you see it on streaming sites everywhere now. But
Yeah.
yeah, Sci-Fi really wanted sequels and everything. But unfortunately, there were some legal battles, and Dog Soldiers is tied up in that, which is a shame because I wrote 2 prequels and a sequel to that. We had a video game that was ready to go. We had, in fact, Sci-Fi was even talking about a TV series at one point. Sci-Fi really wanted a sequel because it was like the number one film for them for a long time.
Yeah. I think that's where I first saw it at was Sci-Fi, actually.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, it mumbled. I'll never forget. We had that screening, and a lady from Sony came. And afterwards, people, oh, thank you, we'll let you know, la la la. So this lady comes up to me, and I'm like, well, so what you think? She goes, well, I enjoyed it, but we're gonna focus on what was the name of that film? Corky Romano. We're gonna focus on our Corky Romano franchise. You even remember that film? It's
No, I know Chris Kattan was,
yeah,
and that's
right.
it. But
This
nah.
is how stupid Hollywood can be. I swear to God. It's one of the reasons why I'm writing a book right now. It's just the stupid things that people just say. Like, really?
In Hollywood, you fail upward. So, like, I think some of the people just.
Unfortunately, I've been the good guy, so I don't fall forward or up. I sort of stay in the middle. But anyway, but yeah. So, what was the question? I go on about
guys
these
have an action
tangents.
figure.
Oh, the toy.
Yeah.
Oh, the action figure. So yeah. So anyway, because the film didn't do what we thought it was going to do in the U.S., I mean, believe me, I got the brunt of it. Oh, we're not making the money back, blah, 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 and I did. I put my job on the line for that film, and so I was like, well, we gotta bring it to the fans, and and in 2002, action figures.
The performance in England didn't help sell this to any of them. Like they weren't hearing it.
Doesn't matter to the U.S. market.
Yeah.
No. There's a prejudice, and they're speaking a different language. Actually, I think there was discussion to put subtitles on it at one point because they put a lot of slang in there.
There's a lot of cockney in it. Yeah.
And so they wanted to put subtitles, and I was like, no, you can't understand this. Mm-hmm. So stupid things like that. That you have to battle, and plus editing the film. That's where I got vilified. I think was because once Neil delivered his director's cut, then we went in and had to re-edit it because the werewolves didn't work for as much as he was showing them, because each of those heads were $30,000 a piece, never worked except on the last day of shooting, and the last day of shooting was the Jeep in the barn where the werewolf cut off. His name.
Yeah, he throws his head at the. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you actually see the growling or whatever. But for the most part, the werewolf heads didn't work. The other problem that we had was we used dancers in the suits, and we should have used mimes because dancers have a more fluid way of moving.
Yeah.
Where mimes actually create character.
Yeah.
So there were scenes where it looked like Diana Ross and the Supremes, where they were just like, you got to work it, girl, And I was like, oh, no. Plus they were on stilts. So there was no running.
Yeah, they're like 9 feet tall. That's right.
Yeah. So there was a lot of movement. There was a lot of things that just didn't work. I mean, if you watch the movie now, when the werewolves come into the kitchen, they're holding on to the beams on the ceiling. Steady. It was just, there was a lot of problems with those suits. And just the flow of the movie too was it was a little long. So we had to go in and cut some of that. And so a couple of things that actually got cut from the script that I really like, for example, when the cow gets thrown over, and scares the soldiers. Originally in the script, that was a grizzly bear. And
okay.
We changed that was because a grizzly bear is violent, whereas the cow showed feeding. And again, I wanted to tell a story about the pack. And another thing that I had that they inserted was that Ryan and Megan knew each other, that they were part of that pack.
Okay.
Because again, there was no real backstory to any of it. It was very action oriented, event. And I figured, we need some kind of backstory for these characters, even if it's a little bit. Another thing that got cut from the script, from the movie that was in the script was when Ryan's team is attacked. It was much more violent, and there's a great scene where Cooper is getting water for his canteen, and all of a sudden it starts flowing out of the waterfall. That's how they discover it. Little things like that, but there were a lot of little things in the script that unfortunately we never got to. but that was cool. So yeah, it was definitely a film made in editing.
Yeah.
That's why I have great respect for editors, because I've had a couple of films that really saved in editing.
Mm. Do you have a question or?
Yeah.
Still, yeah. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you about the scene with the when they hotwire the car and the werewolf rips off his head. Is there any story behind like how that was done?
No, I mean, there's no story. I mean, it was basically that was the day that one of the heads actually worked.
Yeah.
And so we were able to, utilize that, because it would have been cool. There were a lot of scenes like when one of the werewolves attacks Cooper in the upstairs. It would have been nice to have it snarling and clawing and doing something,
Yeah.
but it's all done in editing. You know, it's just the way it's just quick shots and to move away. And really, again, it's the actors that brought that film to life. It really did. I mean, they went in there and they made it real. Some of these horror films, they know they're making schlock, so it's always tongue in cheek,
Mm.
and stuff like that. And whereas they went in there, they made it believable.
Oh yeah, it came out great.
Yeah, what's on screen is awesome, man. Like I really enjoy that film a lot. So
Yeah, the sad part about it is that so many people will never see it on the big screen.
mm,
It was shot in Super 16, which is a very grainy film stock.
hmm
That was Neil's choice. I mean, we didn't have Blu-ray. I mean, DVD was still just, so,
yeah.
so it never really looks amazing on home video as it did in the movie theaters. And it's just, well, you can say that for most films. I mean, it's sad that the theaters are dying. Um, if you ever get a chance, I don't think, because of the lawsuits and stuff, I guess you'll never see it in the theaters. But that's a shame, because it really was a movie made for theaters.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
For the explosions, I was just gonna ask, how were they done? Was that like CGI, or was that like actually like explosions? Like,
Yeah, good pyro guy. Like,
Oh yeah. Actually, if you go on my Facebook page, I have a picture of how that was done. I'll send it. But yeah, it's all gas and models, and
oh, awesome.
that's
yeah,
cool.
it was
Yeah.
all practical. I mean, I like CGI. I mean, like I said, Michael Shelton was the king of CGI, but he did CGI for Basement Jack, and it just didn't work for me. It was just, there was some greats, but then there were some scenes that were just a little. I want to stick with practical. I mean, for backgrounds, I mean, for Sleep Stalker, which was the first film that I produced, it was the first independent film that had a digital character. This was 1995,
Mm.
and we had Mr. Film was the effects people. Chris was the head of that, and yeah, I mean, we have the sand particles and everything. I mean, there's some where the sand looks like rubber, but we were one of the first independent films to have a digital character. But it never looks organic. I mean, if you watch Jurassic Park and you turn the sound off, the footsteps are light. It's never natural. Not that I recommend watching movies without the sound, but there's no weight to them. There's just nothing organic. I mean, take King Kong, 1933. We know it's a little puppet,
Mm.
but there was something organic about it. Now, Peter Jackson spent all that money, and I think any of us would have pushed that thing off the Empire State Building. It was just like nobody cared. You did not care about that because you knew it was a digital effect. It was a cartoon.
Yeah.
It's,
He
and
really, Lord of the Rings.
Lion King. Yeah, I think the Lion King proved that. I mean, why would you take a classic animation film and then animate it digitally? It doesn't work.
I don't know why they're doing that anyway, because in the Lion King, funny you said that, their faces, the animal's face is so hard to animate that when you watch it, they all just look like they're staring at the camera, like they're not emoting anything. No, you're absolutely right. It's
just not there yet.
I'll take the
perfect example of these Godzilla movies that they've been putting out. Just they're so, I want the men in the rubber suits back because there was something organic about it. There was some character there, not got Chubzilla being a cameo in his own film, and and lumbering.
Yeah.
It doesn't have.
Yeah. Same with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I mean, once they change that over.
Yeah. Take them in the suits.
Yeah, I'd rather have
Hollywood feels they have to do that now.
Well, I think it's cheaper in the long run. I think.
No, it's not.
It's more expensive.
Let me tell you. Oh my God, you save money during production, but it eats it up, and because of delays, and it has to render, and there's always it's not really saving anything. I mean, it saves, like, you don't have to build San Francisco, because you can digitally, do it. But then again, it's not. There's nothing organic about it.
Yeah. There's something charming to seeing the model,
Right. But for example, and again, I go back to Michael Shelton. He, in The Exorcism of Emily Rose, there's a scene where Emily's going to a farmhouse in the snow. Okay, that was filmed in the middle of summer, so all that snow effect and everything was Michael, and it's amazing. So for me, that's what CGI should be for.
See, I say it should be used to accentuate, not completely render stuff in screen. Right. Yeah.
I mean, you get poor Peter Cushing in Rogue One. I'm thinking this must be what hell is. or poor Ronnie James Dio being back in a hologram. It's like,
I can't stand that they do that stuff, man.
Go back to Tupac. You're gonna make more money whether you're dead or not. It's really sad.
Yeah.
But what that's what they think the public wants, and since people keep paying money for it, they're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
You're gonna support independent filmmakers, where we use 80 gallons of real blood in our movies. None of this 3D blobs.
Like, it's funny.
So, what was the journey of Dog Soldiers?
I think it's about 97 minutes. No. Dog Soldiers. Well, like I started to say, it was a film. I stuck my neck out for it. It did very well in the UK. #1 film. Unfortunately, it came at a bad time here in the US. We had to put it on Sci-Fi. Then there were some legal problems that kept it from doing any more of them, which is, I'm kind of glad. Now, the sequel that I did for it takes place right after the first one ends. Like, Cooper and the dog are standing outside the burnt out farmhouse, and another team comes upon them. So the War Games, there was actually 3 teams, and that's sort of hinted at in the first movie. So I sort of expanded on that. And then it was just bigger, badder, and bloodier, the 3 Bs. So, but that's how, like, Phantasm 2, that was a great sequel because it started right where the other one ended.
Yeah.
I think that's what sequels should do.
Yeah.
Halloween 2.
Halloween 2.
Because it starts right after the first one.
Mm-hmm. Friday the 13th, part 4.
He comes home.
Part 3. Yeah.
Right. So I like that in a sequel. So that's where the Dog Soldier's fresh meat was going to be.
Did you elaborate on the soldier that gets away and contacts the news? Because at the end we see that newspaper and it says "Werewolves ate my unit."
Right. Oh my God, that was nobody wanted that.
Really? Wow. Because he goes public, so that would have been neat to see the.
Right. Well, nobody wanted because it made it. The argument was, and I could see the argument. The argument was that newspaper clipping cheapened the whole movie. Like, it was sort of like,
okay.
And so, but Neil really wanted to put it in there. In fact, it's in the original script. It's always been there. So
Uh,
So we allowed it, but yeah, I mean, it's something that would have been forgotten in any of the other movies that if we did, we wouldn't have had that. But he wanted that, and again, I think Dog Soldiers, it should stand alone. I don't think it needs a sequel or prequel or, it's just one of those films that it should just exist and we go on. Um, but like I said, I had written two prequels and a sequel because we were getting a lot of heat at the time for it until 9/11. Excuse me.
Yeah.
That destroyed everything.
Mm.
At least for a while.
Yeah.
Well, actually, we didn't even do horror films. Right after that, we did well, it was supposed to be a comedy called Neo Ned with Jeremy Renner and Gabrielle Union. And basically the story of that is a neo-Nazi falls in love with a black girl in an insane asylum who thinks she has the spirit of Hitler in her. Right. It's funny, right? It's kind of dark, and but the director, he took more of a serious bent to it and really kind of focused on the girl's mental problems and and her rape and things like that. And
it's funny that just description, that short little but that's
yeah, and that's what drew me to it because I love unique stuff. I mean, I that's what we go to the movies for. We want to see a different story. Jeremy Renner was amazing. There's a scene where they're shaving his head, the neo-Nazi shaving his head, and his hair is falling. He's eating cereal, and he just kept eating the cereal with his hair in it. And I'm like, oh my God, that's an actor. And he liked PlayStation 3 at the time, so we played a lot of that. But otherwise, it's a good guy. Whatever happened to him, Jeremy Renner?
Yeah.
And Gabrielle Union, oh, she's amazing. Just nicest person you ever want to meet. I read her biography, and she had some rough times, but she's a wonderful actress. She was just in a horror film where she was protecting her kids. What was that? I forgot now. It was pretty good. Anyway, I'm off subject. And then we did another film called, it was called Mojave, but then it became Death Valley. And it was basically deliverance for the millennials. Kind of story. But I haven't seen that anywhere. I don't own any of my films, so I have to wait till they come out. I haven't seen that one in a while. I think it was on Showtime the other night or the other month or so. Anyway.
Okay.
But yeah,
I was going to ask you, how was it working for Fangoria?
Yes.
Fangoria was like a dream come true. That was like, it was right after Cemetery Gates, and I was talking to Tony Tapone at a convention, and I mean, Fangoria. I remember going to the Jewel grocery store in 1979 and seeing the first issue with Godzilla on it. And then I was like, I begged my mom, please buy this for me, please buy this for me. And of course, she starts flipping through it, and the first picture she comes to is the head exploding from Dawn of the Dead. She goes, no, I don't want any more of this trash in my house.
I used to buy Fangoria magazine when I was a kid. I used to get caught with it all the time. My third grade teacher, she used to bust me with it all the time.
Oh yeah, my math teacher, Mr. Carlson, used to snatch mine all the time.
Yeah, she took them. I never got them back.
I got mine back, but
no.
It was like
Fangoria.
Pornography. I'm like, pornography.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he was looking for someone to do the video game reviews. I'm a huge video game nerd. That's like my only vice. Like I love and horror video games. In my opinion, are where horror is going. Movies are, they're passive. You sit there, and although the jump scares and stuff, that's great. But in horror, you are there. Like you never forget the first time that dog bursted that window in Resident Evil. You never forget.
That's right.
Oh yeah.
And Dead Space and Condemned, and there were so many where
Fear was another good one.
Fear, oh yeah, that little girl just popped. Yeah, I mean, so for a while there, I really just wanted to do video games, and actually I ended up doing 2 video games. One was Speed Racer, which we took an episode and we just made it into a video game. It was a car with a brain, and we got some of the guys from Guns N' Roses to do the theme song. It was an amazing game. And then we did another game called Radical Rick and Day of the Brain Dead. And basically, he's a BMX character from BMX magazine. And basically, it was just a hack and slash with your bike through zombies, invade the neighborhood and stuff like that. And they were all ready to go, and they were boxed and stuff like that. But the president of Live Entertainment at the time, Jose, went home one night and was killed by his two sons. You might remember the Menendez brothers. And so the new people came in, and they didn't think video games were going to be anything. So they boxed them up, and they put them in a warehouse, and they're just sitting there to this day. It sucks. They were two really good games. I worked with a guy, Voldy Way, in Way Forward Technologies. They do Shantae the Genie, but they've also done Alien. For the Game Boy, they did an Alien game. But anyway, so yeah, I really wanted to do video games because I thought that's where horror was going. Because at the time, remember, we getting Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the underwear years. I mean, it was like, stop. You're not adding, like, that stupid movie. All they did was sweat in that movie. Remember that? As the first, it was like, yeah, beautiful people sweating, great.
Yeah, they were all like glossy. They were all shiny.
But I think Scream sort of brought horror back. At some point at that time, and then so I just jumped back into it, and we did two films called, one was Boo and one was Cemetery Gates in the early 2000s. So that was back. Did I answer your questions? I told you you have to.
Oh yeah, you're good.
You have to keep
Cemetery Gates, great movie.
Did you watch it?
Oh yeah, I watched it the other night.
Right.
How was the creature in that operated? The Tasmanian devil.
A lot of people in suits with a lot of Febreze. Well, here's the thing: is like, so when that movie was supposed to be a much bigger film, it was supposed to be my monster like movie, my Grizzly, my Jaws. It was like, it was a bigger story where it gets loose in an airplane, and the airplane crashes in the woods, and it was like a huge film. But Boo, before then, was being a lot more expensive than it should have been. And so a lot of the money came from Cemetery Gates to go to Boo. So at the end, we were left with nothing. So I rewrote the script. Well, the interesting story about it is when I was a literary agent, this first-time writer from Rhode Island sent me a story. Sent me a script about the killer Tasmanian devil. And it was a first-time writer. It had a lot of problems, but I thought the monster was really cool. So I made him a promise. I said, look, if you trust me, let me rewrite this. Someday I'm going to get this made. It took me 12 years, but I got it made. It was not what we wanted. So basically with the little money that we had, 17 people die in 90 minutes. I mean, it's just a blood fest. So we try to be as creative as possible. And we have some cameos. You saw Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger from, they were in there, and
Howard Berger
had animation. Bad as it was animation. And I think it's the first time a monster took a shit in a movie. So I think, we tried to just make it a lot of fun. And I almost died on that movie twice. You remember the scene where the monster goes after the girl on the bike?
Yeah.
Bike. And so, well, anyway, so we're on the edge of a cliff with a big pad. Because I'm stupid. I hire great stuntmen who should be in the Academy Awards. I'm just saying. So I'm holding the pad. The monster comes barreling down on the bike, hits the pad, and I almost go over the edge of the cliff. I literally, it was a cliff. We did it in Griffith Park. And so I was like, and then one night it's raining really hard. The cave, that cave that we use is the Batman cave. Remember when Batman's car comes out of the cave in the TV series?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
cave.
yeah, yeah.
And it's a man-made cave that Adventures of Robin Hood, the 1935
Oh, the
movie.
Errol Flynn stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they drilled that into the side of the mountain just for that movie. So
Wow. Okay.
yes, there's a lot of history. Anyways, it was starting to flood, and we had one scene left, and I was like, well, it's low budget. We got to wrap. So I'm walking outside, and all of a sudden I hear this sound, and I stop, and all of a sudden this boulder just comes rolling down, literally missed me by an inch. Like it just rolled past me, and I was like, yeah, we're going home. But yeah, that was the
Wow.
funnest movie I had. Everybody was great. Peter Stickles, this was his first movie. Reggie Bannister. Originally, we had
Oh,
Tom Savini.
Okay, Reggie Bannister. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom Savini was supposed to play that role, but
Mm.
he ended up having to do some other film. So we were lucky to get Reggie Bannister.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's
and I
cool.
felt bad because I put all those actors through hell. Like the actor, his name escapes me right now, but the actor that played the father of the two hillbillies, he was in Alfred Hitchcock movies. Like he was, and here I got him was laying in a puddle of blood, and then his head gets run over by a truck. Like I have no shame, but I was kind of mad because my monster movie opus was destroyed. And the interesting about the suit was that the drawing that I gave them sort of done in an anime style, like I just kind of liked the look of it, but I wanted it to really look like the real creature, the real Tasmanian devil. So I wasn't sure when the suit was made that it worked. So we were out in a farm. Well, it's a porno ranch. They make porno films there.
Okay.
And anyway, so we put the monster and we were just filming it. And I happened to notice there was a corral of horses, and the horses were sort of not running, but swiftly walking in a circle. And I'm like, that's odd. Why are they doing that? Well, they saw the monster and it frightened them. And yeah, and I was like, it
Pretty good
works.
stuff. Yeah, you know your
And so,
monster works.
and I was like, and then at some point you're like, do we hide it? Like Ginger Snaps. Like they hid the werewolves till the end because they didn't look that great. So you want to kind of hide them. And I was like, nah, you know what? Show this thing as much as we can.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
I mean, we got nothing to hide, and we didn't. It just went through everything. And then there's one scene where I don't know if you remember where the kid goes into the cave and then he gets tossed out.
Yeah.
Okay, well, originally the scene was he goes into the cave and all of a sudden there's this huge burst of blood because we like the blood. Well, we
Oh, who
used a
does?
fire hose for it. And when this time came, we set off the fire hose and there was this huge spray of blood and this beautiful rainbow came in. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. We
That's
couldn't
awesome.
use it, but that's how, yeah, we used 80 plus gallons of blood, copyrighted blood, because Roy had, it was a special mixture that he had of blood.
Hmm. Yeah,
That's awesome.
that's
It was
cool.
good blood. And then the last story I'll tell you about that is when they go in the van, the guy in the van's attacked by the monster. Um, he pretty much gets torn up in that. So anyway, we cleaned up the van and we returned it to the place where we rented the van. And like a month later, I get a bill for $2,000 from the van company. I'm like, we cleaned that van. I know. I looked at it. It was clean. And I called them. I said, why are you charging us $2,000 cleaning fee? They go, well, the next person that rented it turned on the air conditioning and got a face
Oh,
flush.
Oh shit.
So,
that's funny,
That's
man. That's
great.
good. That's a good one.
yeah, we like our blood.
Uh,
Yeah, we like that. That's all that movie was blood, 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 blood. But hopefully it was fun, right? I mean, it was,
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was great.
one of my more successful films. Overseas, it did really well. Like I got to go fly to some conventions and stuff. People loved it there. It was like they have something called Oh, shoot, I can't remember. Something horror. It's their sci-fi, something horror channel. Anyway, it was like their number one film for a while. So that was good. So this little movie that I made out of scraps from another movie, ended up doing really well. So you never know. You never know. It was honest. That's the thing I do is I don't have a lot of money in my films. Even Dog Soldiers was not that expensive. But as long as you're honest and as long as you're telling a thoughtful story, that's what I love about horror audiences is that they're willing to forgive some of it as long as you don't cheat them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool when I go to conventions and people pull up their sleeve and they show me Precious, the Tasmanian devil, on their arm or a werewolf or something, and I'm like, oh, you put that on your body?
I've seen people with Dog Soldier tattoos.
Yeah.
So it's a very rabid fan base, man.
Yeah, and I'm thankful for it, that people keeping it alive. Because it was tough to make. It was, to get that made was really brutal.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you the kill when the fisherman gets like ripped in half. How did that get done? It was really really cool seeing.
I'll send you a picture, but basically it's a false platform. Fake legs, real body, lots of guts. Oh my God, who's it? Richard Elfman, who's Danny Elfman's brother.
Okay.
Danny Elfman, the composer. That's who played the fisherman. He did a movie called Forbidden something. With Hervé Villechaize. Forbidden Zone. That's it. And he's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. But yeah, he was. That was. We had a lot of guests because at the time this was like 2004. Like nobody was making monster movies. Like sci-fi hadn't discovered the formula yet. So we had was it Richard Condon, the director of Beauty and the Beast, came and visited the set. Eli Roth came to the set.
Nice.
To see it. And I wanted to murder him. I said, "Can I murder you? I'll write something really quick," because we were just killing people left and right. You see the movie, just people were just dying because that's all I had. And it was the fact that Greg Nicotero and Howard Berger, they asked to be in it. Like I wrote that hippie scene just for them.
Cool.
I couldn't believe all the people that wanted to be in this movie. Like, yeah, sure. Because at the time nobody was really doing those. I really wanted to do a sequel to that, but wasn't to be. But I'm glad it's on some streaming sites so people can discover it.
Yeah.
Because I think it's fun. I think it's one of those just fun movies. Go on. I know I'm babbling.
Oh yeah, you're fine.
No.
I was gonna ask you, like, there's a lot of cool special effects in the whole movie. Any of them that were like, your favorite one out of all of them? Like your favorite kill?
Well, no, I like them all. Favorite kill, I guess. Well, a lot of stuntmen got beat to hell. Lee Whitaker, he played the old man. He was the stuntman for the old man, and he was the stuntman for was it Chris, the one that gets tossed around in the cave? Yeah, we beat the crap out of him. Like I felt bad. I have a high respect for stuntmen because they go through a lot. And the girl that was attacked with the bike, her name escapes me right now, but she literally got thrown in the air. Like they pulled her and she went flying. So what you see in the movie is real. Like she went tumbling, and she's like, "Let's do it again." I didn't feel it. I'm like, "No, you're not doing it again. What the hell?" that was too much, So, God, they were all special. The kid that got clawed to death, that was pretty good.
Yeah, it was cool seeing a kid die. You don't see that a whole lot.
Yeah, usually movies don't want to deal with that.
Well, that's unfortunate because we couldn't sell Cemetery Gates to like sci-fi. You couldn't cut it enough. It was still too violent. but I didn't care because it was like, and I'm not compromising on this. The fans would kill me. So again, it's a film that if you see it in the big screen, it's a beautiful movie. You have to admit it was filmed well, right?
Oh
Because
yeah.
the guy who filmed it, or a cinematographer, also did Deadwood on HBO. He just happened to have a few weeks left, wanted to do a monster movie. So that film looks 100 times better than it has any right to. It's a beautiful movie. He did a great job. And Reggie, poor Reggie, it's 2 a.m. and we're asking him to climb a rope and be attacked by a monster, and let's do it.
Go for it. That's awesome.
Oh, I almost burned up on that movie too. I was standing too close to the heater and my coat caught fire.
Oh,
So
man.
3 times I almost died in that movie. But anyway, yeah, I liked all the. I wrote. I'm sorry.
I was saying I love both of the movies. Cemetery Gates, Dog Soldiers are both awesome.
I have more.
I'll definitely have to check them out.
Evolution and Basement Jack. I think Basement Jack is on Tubi, but Evolution and Basement Jack were supposed to be part of a trilogy. So there's a character in both movies called the Manager. And the third movie was supposed to be his story. But the production company it fell through. So we ended up not doing it, which is a shame because it was my Alien, was my thing movie, So I'm kind of sad that I never got to do that, but both movies stand alone. One is an alien. An alien is infecting people because it wants to communicate, but we're not smart enough. So we basically are de-evolved to like Neanderthal cannibals. And there was a lot of great cameos in that film too. And then Basement Jack was my slasher movie.
Slasher movie.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's I thought it was original. I wrote it, so what am I gonna say? But I thought it had some original ideas in it. But again, it was my first film with digital effects. And a knife through the back out the chest looks cool, but then there were some that weren't quite as good. There's a slaughter in a police station.
Nice.
You probably ask yourself, why does everybody die in all your movies? Well, because I take public transportation. So
well, it's a movie. You get a chance to do a movie, so you go for it.
Oh, believe me. Wait till you see these next 2 I'm working on.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Anything you got coming out you want to tell us about?
Yeah.
Well,
Anything you want
so
to
I just created another company. I took like a 5-year break. Had some health issues and stuff, and I was just like, I pretty much gave up after I did the Atlas Shrugged trilogy, and that was such an experience.
You did Atlas Shrugged. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
I got death threats. I woke up with a gun in my face. Somebody called a suicide with a gun on me, and so the cops. And I'm a heavy sleeper, so the cops burst into my apartment. I woke up and there was a cop with a gun in my face, like literally. But it ended up being some jerk in Texas called it in because again they didn't want a hack writer writing this great novel into a movie.
Over a movie.
Oh yeah, and then I'll communicate with anybody. So I basically said, listen, why are you harassing me? Do you want to talk to me? And everyone that took me up on it was a writer, and they were just jealous that I got the opportunity that they wanted, But I don't shy away from this stuff. I just was like, what's your problem? Why are you writing these things to me? You want to talk? Ask me my questions. Well, you're going to ruin the book because it's the John Galt speech is like their Bible, for some people, and they thought I was going to ruin it, and I'm like, no, because you have to understand if you're going to adapt something, here's what you got to do. You got to find the heart, okay? Because I can't film the book. The book is actually one of the longest books next to the Bible. Like you couldn't do. That's why we did 3 movies because you couldn't do it the whole movie in one, which is what they wanted to do originally. I said, no, don't don't even waste people's time doing one movie, because you have to split this up. Because the first movie is Rocky, the second movie is The Empire Strikes Back, and the third part of the book is Raiders of the Lost Ark, basically. It's, in theme. So I was like, you can't do this. So so basically what I said is, what is Atlas Shrugged about? What is the Bear story? And it's about a woman who is being troubled, who's running her family railroad, being troubled by three things: a brother, an idiot brother, who doesn't give a crap except his own political aspirations, and then there's the government that's taxing all the rich people to death to feed these programs for the poor or whatever. And there's a mysterious man who's taking all the brains of the world and spiriting them away to a secret island. That's what the story's about. I mean, that's the heart of the story. So it's this woman trying to save her railroad from these three factions. And then you build a movie from that. Well, no, because they treated Ayn Rand's novel as a philosophy. So how do you put that on screen? You can't preach to people.
Yeah.
And even Ayn Rand wasn't preaching to people. She was showing by example. And in my opinion, where it goes wrong, and I'll stop talking about it in a second, but where I think it goes wrong is she was writing a book about a bank robbery. And if you follow what she's doing, you could rob the bank. And but she didn't intend for people reading the book to rob the banks.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened. There's a saying, Atlas Shrugged was supposed to be a book, not a newspaper. And it's interesting that the things that happen in the book are happening now in our world.
Yeah,
so I went there trying to be as respectful as I can, because I know there's a huge audience for it, and I've made a lot of great friends from that audience, But anyway, that's my Atlas Shrugged. But anyway, so I took a few years off of that, and now I've started a company with two other guys, Jason Davitt, who directed a hit series of vampire movies. And he did them for basically nothing. And in today's world, you can't make expensive horror movies anymore because of streaming. Streaming does not pay.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard streaming's really hurting indie horror.
Yeah, so you have to keep it. Like, I would get 30,000 from Asian territories on a movie. I get $5,000. Like, for independence, filmmaking is just it's getting outrageous. So this is my last hurrah. The company's called Edgewater Filmworks. I'm sorry, MediaWorks. We're on Facebook. It's Edgewater Films. And we're doing two horror films. One is called Fracked, and it's sort of a socio-political monster movie about fracking.
Yeah.
And then the second one is called Hexpress, which is about a mummified witch being transported to a museum, and her familiar comes to life to protect her. It's a pretty chilling story. And then I have a writer, Matthew Hayes, who's and he has a sense of character that's just amazing. Like, I've read millions of scripts, basically, well over 3,000, and he just has a sense of character that I think people, when they see the movies that he's writing, are going to be amazed. Truthfully, he's so I got lucky. So I have a team that I feel really strong about, and hopefully we filmed our next films in the UK this summer.
They both sound cool, man. They both sound really
Yeah,
good.
they do.
Yeah, so if you go to edgewatermediaworks.com, you can see our website, and right now we're just looking for the financing, as everyone is.
Wow.
But we keep the budgets low. and the money goes up on the screen. That's all we can do.
Mm. No, that's great. That's great.
Different world now. It's a different world with the streaming and everything. So
Yeah.
adapt or die.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of like home video stuff anymore. It's all
Mhm.
Netflix, Amazon Prime, Tubi.
Oh yeah, but see horror again. What there's like 5. There's Shudder. There's
Yeah.
Halloween movies. There's all these streaming, and Tubi has the most amazing collection of horror films.
Yeah, I
Amazon's
barely use Netflix anymore. Tubi's great.
Yeah.
and
I got
Amazon.
stuck on Tubi one time for like 20 minutes. I was like 20 minutes deep into the horror flicks. That's
They have over
how-
6,000 of horror
yeah,
films.
it's
Crazy.
insane. It's insane. Yeah. So I'm seeing all kinds of good stuff on there. So yeah, Tubi.
Yeah. Oh yeah, movies I've never seen before.
Yeah. So
That I never thought I would.
well, I'm a big Italian giallo fan. So I just have a thing for Italian horror. I don't know. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, anytime I'm on there, I see tons of stuff from like Europe that I've never heard before or heard of or seen before. So,
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
I usually go around looking for stuff.
yeah.
Like Raven the Vampire. Like it's weird. It was a very weird movie, and I'm so glad I saw it. They have great movies. Yeah, you can get lost on Tubi. Tubi's
Yeah,
amazing.
man. Like, I never even watched a movie that night. I was sitting there for like a half hour and I couldn't make up my mind. So, that's how much stuff they had. So,
And you filled up your wish list. That's what I did. I have like hundreds of movies. Now I have to go and watch them. But
yeah.
it's good and it's bad because for filmmakers though, because like Netflix and Amazon, they don't tell you how much they're going to pay. Basically Amazon pays like what I think $6,000 flat. Like, give us your movie, here's $6,000. We'll show it as much as we want
Yeah.
for a limited amount of time. So yeah, it's an evolving thing, but I don't think physical media will ever go away. There's just something about holding a movie,
Mhm.
But,
As long as you got people like us, you'll be able to sell movies.
Blu-ray. I don't know what your opinion is
yeah.
about Blu-ray. Remember DVD? They had menus that were really cool.
Yeah.
Like you
I've
could
got
do
thousands of
and all these-
DVDs.
Now it's just they show a little scene from the film on the menu. Like they don't put any energy into the Blu-rays, but they charge you twice as much.
Yeah.
Like Speed Factory. Oh my God, how much? So overpriced. Well, I'm mad at them because they put out a special edition of Dog Soldiers,
Uh-huh.
and I wrote them and said, "Hey, I got all this stuff," and they never got back to me. So they didn't even have the master. They used a print.
Yeah, God, you would think a company like that would want to contact everybody, or if somebody reached out to them, for I don't know.
But they do good work. Like I have My Bloody Valentine. I'm going to watch tomorrow. I've never seen the uncut version, so I'm dying to see that.
Ooh, the original uncut. Ooh,
uncut with the eye.
for a treat, sir. Yeah.
All that good stuff. I can't wait to see.
In for a treat. So it's so good. But
I love it. If I could live 1 year again, it would be 1981. Just
a lot of good slashers came out that year.
Yeah.
The Burning. Yeah.
Like everybody said, 50 slasher movies came out. None of them lost money.
That's right. During the heyday. Absolutely. So.
Yes.
But I was going to ask you about the toy again because
the toy?
Yeah, the soda toy. I was wondering.
Oh, did I never answer that?
I don't think so. But it's all good.
Anyway, so they didn't want to make the action figure because they didn't think. And I said, listen, we need a lost leader. We need something that puts the name of the movie out there. And we're not going to make money on it. We shouldn't make money on it. It should just be something, because people who do see it respond to the creature. So Jerry came to our office and he actually scanned the life-size suit that we had stuffed. So the action figure is actually you know, exactly. I think there's even a little tear in the back of it that was in the model that's now on the toy too. Like
Oh, that's so
it
cool.
was like, it was great. Now but the thing is, again, because I have the worst luck, is they were making them in China, and I think something happened, so they could only do a limited run.
Yeah, it's pretty rare to find
It
the toy.
is.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
Tower Records had the bloody version. Remember Tower Records?
Yep.
But I bought all mine. They were $15. I remember I bought 6 of them at a Fangoria convention from Jerry.
Okay.
And you'd think you'd get a free one. No, but yeah. But then I opened one, and nothing about the quality of sodas worked. They do great work, but mine just seemed to melt. Like something happened to it, and it just sort of one day it would just sort of like collapsed. I don't know why it did that, but it was weird. It was like I should have kept it. It just sort of melted. Yeah.
No,
but all the other ones I have are fine. It must have been near a heat dunk or something. It was
because it happens. Plastic will slowly warp.
What the hell? Yeah, I can find one. I know Amazon has them once in a while.
No, they do nice work. They Lord of Darkness they did is gorgeous. Even like I said, but they did the Dog Soldier Wolf and it's pretty badass, man. Like I would love to get one, but they're stupid expensive at this point. So and that's another cool thing to have done you're associated with a toy that's like rare and pricey. That's awesome. So
really, I would think that Jerry would still have a bunch of them because they didn't sell. From what I understand, they didn't sell that well, but it was because the movie didn't go anywhere originally. It was on Sci-Fi. They had it 15 years. And
listen, I'm a toy collector, and I've never seen one in the wild. So, you know what I mean? It's a badass toy,
No, it's a great looking toy. They did an amazing job. In fact, I remember I contacted Jerry because I wanted to do one for Basement Jack because I think that the character looks really cool. But he never got back to me. So I wanted to explore the pack mentality.
Yeah. Okay.
And I wanted to explore like the family aspect of the pack. But that was always what I wanted to do in a werewolf movie. When I got Dog Soldiers, I had read over 300 scripts. We had just started this company. I was brought on as the development executive because I was a literary agent for 2 agencies, so I came from that background sort of. So I knew how to find good material. But anyway, so we started this company, and we just were getting submissions. I used to joke that if there was a nuclear explosion, I would never feel it because the walls were lined with so many scripts. But anyway, so I read Dog Soldiers, and from what I understand, it was around for about 8 years, and I could see why, because a lot of it was about women and soccer. And this is the original draft that I read, and it went on for like forever about the footy and the stuff like that. And but when you're a script development person like I was for the studios and stuff, they teach you to read the first 10 pages, the middle 10, and the last 20, because you have so many scripts to read in the day. And I couldn't do that because as a writer myself, I was like, I can't just do that.